them, let me put up with the need. I'm the blast, they gonna bend that. Take it up, genius, you can't even read the lyrics of Brandon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages from all across the world. You are now tuned into the Chandler Brief, where the dress code is, of course, business casual. This is our second installation, or what's the right word I'm looking for? Well, this is our second edition, there you go, maybe that's the right word, of our brand new daily show that we have every weekday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So big shout out to everybody who is joining us for our show, or if you're watching this later on, hello to you, how are you doing? I guess it's probably not the same afternoon anymore, but you know what? We've got plenty of stories we're going to be jumping into and talking about, and as the timer says, of which you can't see the timer quite yet, we're still working on that, but we have 30 minutes to get through all the topics we have today, so that means we're going to be breezing through them real quick. That is why it's called the Chandler Brief. Now let's jump into our very first topic of the day, which, as you guys know if you read the title of the stream, is breaking news that CNN President Jeff Zucker is now out of the job. Yep, that's right. He has resigned. He hasn't been fired by the board or anything, but he has resigned from his job over and they were very clear to say consensual, but a consensual relationship with key lieutenant, which is interesting. But anyways, let's continue. CNN Worldwide President Jeff Zucker, the influential news executive who reshaped the iconic network, announced Wednesday morning that he has resigned from his position effective immediately. Zucker's stunning announcement came less than 2 months after he fired primetime anchor Chris Cuomo for improperly advising his brother, then New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, about how to address sexual misconduct allegations, of which Chris Cuomo now has quite a few of those as well. As part of the investigation into Chris Cuomo's tenure at CNN, I was asked about a relationship with my closest colleague, someone I have worked with for over 20 years. Zucker told employees in a memo, "I acknowledge the relationship evolved in recent years. I was required to disclose it when it began, but I didn't. I was wrong. As a result, I am resigning today." Zucker did not name his colleague, but the relationship is with Allison Gullust, his key lieutenant for the last 2 decades. Gullust is remaining at CNN. I should also probably let you guys know that this is a CNN article I'm reading about this now. It does come from CNN Business, which is supposed to be a separate embark, but you know what? It's CNN, so I have another article that details this in a similar way as well. It's not CNN, but we might have to compare and contrast here. Zucker and Gullust began working together at NBC in 1998. They rose through the ranks of the network together, and then Zucker joined CNN. Gullust was among one of his first hires, and when Zucker joined CNN. Just before coming to CNN, Gullust had worked briefly as communications director for Andrew Cuomo. She is currently executive vice president and chief marketing officer at CNN. In a statement of her own, Gullust said, "Jeff and I have been close friends and professional partners for over 20 years. Recently, our relationship changed during COVID. I regret that we didn't disclose it at the right time. I am incredibly proud of my time at CNN and look forward to continuing the great work we do every day." Let's take a look at this USA Today article and see if there's any glaring differences. Yada yada, that is what he wrote in the memo. Zucker 56, a Harvard graduate who became the youngest producer of NBC's Today Show, went on to serve as president and CEO of NBC before becoming president of CNN at 2013. So, geez, he went from NBC Universal to CNN. That's quite the switch. He oversaw all of Warner Media sports operations, including Turner Sports and Bleacher Report. He became involved with Allison Gullust, executive vice president and CMO at CNN, who until recently reported to Zucker and served in a top communication post at NBC. Zucker is divorced from his wife, Karen. And there's Allison Gullust's article, or I guess memo about what she said. "We do great work." Zucker stood by Cuomo for months despite revelations the anchor had consulted with his brother over how to respond to a harassment scandal that involved the governor. Cuomo was fired late last year, more than 3 months after Andrew Cuomo resigned. A series of interim hosts has filled in on the 9 p.m. slot. formerly occupied by Cuomo Prime Time. Warner Media chief Jason Kilar named 3 CNN execs, Michael Bass, Amy Intilis, and Ken Jatz, as interim replacements for Zucker. Their names are so difficult to pronounce. Who he said would remain in place until Discovery's merger with Warner Media is completed this spring. So Zucker's still going to be having these 3 people on the job for him until this spring, which is crazy. Wow. That's when somebody new is going to come into the job. Now, there have been some rumblings of people that may take the spot past this, but we're going to jump into those in a bigger video that I'm going to be publishing later today that's going to talk about these 3 hosts. Speaking of these hosts, though, I guess Zucker isn't really a host, but touching on some news that broke yesterday evening, and if you haven't seen that video about it, I suggest you watch it. I published a video earlier this morning talking about Whoopi Goldberg, who is on a 2-week suspension for some of her spicy comments regarding the Holocaust and who was really affected by it, because apparently in her opinion, at least at the time she said it, it was white people versus white people, and Jewish people are white people. Now, I don't know too much about all that, but if she was able to get suspended and laid off temporarily for that type of thing, sounds like she might not have been correct. But anyways, she appears to be livid and is threatening to quit The View over being suspended, according to a source. This comes from the New York Post. Let's see what this is about. Whoopi Goldberg is livid after she was suspended from The View over her claim that the Holocaust was not about race, and is telling co-workers she is going to quit the show, according to a source. Goldberg, 66, feels humiliated at being disciplined by ABC execs after she followed their advice to apologize for her comments, and a well-placed insider told the Post. She feels ABC executives mishandled this. She followed their playbook, she went on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and then apologized again on The View the next day. The source added that while Goldberg is taking the suspension hard and says she wants to leave the show, insiders believe she is likely just sounding off, just spouting talk. Her ego has been hurt, and she's telling people she's going to quit. Suspension from The View is like getting suspended from Bravo. The bar is very low. Don't you just love how these talk show TV types have such the what's it called? Such the ego. Like, I guess with this new Chandler Brief show, I'm kind of similar to them. I have my own talk show during the middle of the day. Heck, I might be competing with The View right now. I don't know what time they go on. I'm talking to all the moms out there who are, their husbands and their kids go off to school and work during the day, so they're at home doing the dishes and they like to hear a little bit of a political talk from your favorite Chandler. Do we have any of those in here? Dolores in the chat says, Whoopi can quit. I can't stand her. Well, hey, maybe you're one of the moms who listens to my show during the day. You can't quite watch at 8 because, you're cooking dinner or you're hanging out with the family, you're doing other things. So 3 p.m. is the best time. I don't know, I'm making assumptions here and assuming your gender off of your name Dolores, but that's what I'm wondering here. Goldberg raised eyebrows on The View Monday when she insisted that Nazis and Jews were both white. Higher-ups at the network urged Goldberg to make amends on The Late Show that evening, but she repeated the statement while attempting to clarify her comments. The next day, she invited ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt on the show to discuss her offensive remarks and to apologize once again. And here's Whoopi on the show. I know this one is Joy Behar. I don't know who this one is, but hey, it's The View. But her words weren't enough for ABC top brass. The president of ABC News announced her decision to suspend Goldberg for 2 weeks late Tuesday, telling staffers that such decisions are never easy, but are necessary. Words matter, and we must be cognizant of the impact our words have. And she said the comments were wrong and hurtful. As news of the suspension rippled through the network, it angered not only Goldberg, but also her co-host. I didn't know about this. I love Whoopi Goldberg. I love The View, Anna Navarro told the Daily Beast. This was an incredibly unfortunate incident. Whoopi is a lifelong ally to the Jewish community. She is not an anti-Semite. Period. I am sad, and I have nothing else to say. She first argued that the Holocaust went beyond race during a discussion on The View about a Tennessee school district's decision to ban Mouse the Book. Let's see here. Oh, you got some people in the chat. So, Brother Malachi, nice to see you again. I remember your name. He says, that's the thing about inquisitions and witch hunts. They eventually eat their own. And Dolores has been watching you when you looked younger. Thank you so much, Dolores. I appreciate that. Shout out to everybody who's been watching us since the very beginning. And Jill says, I never watched The View. So true. Well, now you have a new competitor to The View in the Chandler Brief every day at 3 p.m. You'll catch me once again here tomorrow at 3 and on Friday, although we are not on the weekends. That's the time I get to kick back and game. But anyways, Brother Malachi, you make a really great point. And another point that people have been making, I want to sound off real quick on, is that a lot of people have been making a very free speech argument. They've been saying it was wrong for The View to suspend Whoopi Goldberg and that she's more than valid in saying she wants to quit. And to an extent, I agree. I'm, of course, a free speech absolutist, so I believe people should be able to say what they want to say. And even private companies that have become so major that they are public squares should be required in many ways to enforce and support somebody's First Amendment right to speak what they want to say. In 2022, walking outside of your house and shouting from the streets what you want to say isn't enough. And even back then it wasn't enough. You were able to get printed on a newspaper or give a speech in front of a large crowd. Now it's not quite as simple because there are a lot more people and companies involved as intermediaries deciding whether what you say can and cannot get out there. So major news networks can decide what you want to say, like ABC News, or I guess ABC's The View, Fox News, CNN, they can decide that what I'm saying is wrong. So that's why the power went back to the people. That's why networks like YouTube and all these other things like Twitter and Instagram became such massive things. But then their terms of service started to get really, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, draconian. Especially during the Trump years, where conservative viewpoints became so big and so mainstream and so strong that they were actually willing to get some of the things they wanted to get done, because before that, abortion and immigration, Republicans were very weak on it. They didn't do much. But with Trump in office, he was one of the most pro-life presidents in history, and he stood up for it. One of his biggest issues with immigration was immigration, and he inspired an entire conservative and MAGA-based movement that wanted to stand up and say, all right, these are the issues we stand by, we're going to do something. And of course, there's some intellectual diversity between that and ideological diversity, but it was a strong thing, and so now these networks started to get even more and more interested and willing to do whatever it takes to shut down conservative voices like myself. That's why I have to stream to all sorts of different platforms like Rumble and Odyssey and Locals. And if you want to check out my stream without having to deal with any of that censorship, then you need to go into the description and check out our very own Rumble channel. I want to give a big shout out to everybody who's watching us on Rumble right now. I think we've got a few people watching us over on Rumble right now. So if you're watching me on Rumble, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. You hit the little plus button. That's Rumble's version of the like button. And just big shout out to you for supporting me over there. We're going to move on to a few more stories, but We Win says, go Chandler, love you since the beginning on Twitter. You remind me of my grandsons. Thank you, We Win. She also said, he or she says, what's the view? All right, let's move on, because last but very definitely not least, or actually probably least, of the show hosts that are out of a job right now is Rachel Maddow. She is confirmed to be taking a hiatus from her show. What's it called? The Maddow? What's her show called? Maddow? I don't know. I don't watch her show. But anyway, she's got a primetime show over on MSNBC, and she's actually taking some time away from her show, which is interesting. Now, we read this story in one of our previous broadcasts, so if you want to hear more about this, check it out, and I'll be putting out a clip about this when I do my full video about these show hosts. But this is pretty crazy. She is actually going to be out of her show all the way up until April. And the reason for this is because she's going to be filming some movie about her podcast. But if we're going to do some, we do a little conspiracy theorizing here. I think it's because Tucker Carlson and many other conservative show hosts are actually beating her out in the key demographic. And I had an article about this before. I'm not going to put it out this time because we don't have time for that. But the article, in layman's terms, stated that Tucker Carlson, not only were clips of his show getting out to more Democrats, but full broadcasts of his show on Fox News and Fox Nation were actually reaching more liberals within the age ranges of 24 to 25 to 54, I think that's the key demographic right there, of liberals than show hosts like Rachel Maddow were. And she is one of the biggest show hosts on MSNBC. She charts up there. But even she is losing people that agree with her to Tucker Carlson. It's just you gotta laugh at it, because that's hilarious. There may eventually be another hiatus sometime in my future, but for now we're just taking it one step at a time, Maddow said. Now, she did at least say that she'll be back for President Biden's State of the Union address on March 1st, because everybody clearly wants to see her there for that. But you know what, I think it's just really sad to say that, wow, she's giving up, really. She's giving up, in my opinion. Now, that's just my opinion for that one. That's the story right there, though. She's out of a job for a little while. Whoopi Goldberg is out for 2 weeks, and potentially more if she follows through with what her ego is saying. Jeff Zucker is completely gone, and we all know what happened to Chris Cuomo just a few months back, in addition to Andrew Cuomo, who was a very frequent contributor to his show, basically. But what do you guys think of all that? Do you think there's some sort of cleaning house operation happening on some of the big left-wing news shows? I don't know, it's up to you guys. We have a few more topics we're going to be jumping into, but very first, before we do that, I want to remind you guys that this show is, of course, 100% supported by viewers like you, of course, and sponsored by MyPillow. So if you want to support my channel, support a strong Christian patriot in Mike Lindell, and also get some really great sleep in a very comfortable and compact way to do it, then go to MyPillow.com and use code CRUMP, that is code CRUMP, for up to 66% off of anything in your cart, or your cart in total, and you can get very low prices on a good amount of the commodities they have over there, including sheets, slippers, pillows, all sorts of things. They actually have a flash sale happening on sheets right now for a limited time only, and I don't know how limited this time is. So if you want to get these sheets for your bed for $40 with code Crump, then you need to go to mypillow.com right now. Add the Giza sheets to your cart. Here, we'll do it myself. We'll do green, and then we'll do one, and well, there you go. Come on, let me do it. Sorry, the website, I'm not good at it. And you do blue, add to cart, and then you just add code Crump, and you'll get you'll get these for $40. Let's test it right now. So here we are, $99 for normal, and that's a sheet. But then if I add this to cart and then proceed to checkout, that's how you do it. I don't online shop often, if you guys couldn't tell. But then if we bring it down to 1, and then you just type in CRUMP, apply, boom, $47. Isn't that funny? That's great. Definitely check out mypillow.com and use code Crump for some very comfortable and sleep-worthy discounts. Moving on to our next story, though, this one is big, and this is something that this White House has seemed to be doing a lot of recently, which I simply cannot believe, and that is begging for a platform to censor somebody. Now, they did this a few months ago in more of a broad way, and actually, if you were listening at the beginning of my stream, a little bit of my song played in which we clearly heard Joe Biden asking big tech platforms to take care of the censorship that's on your shows. You know what? I'll play it again. Here, I just want you guys to hear this real quick.
I make a special appeal to social media companies and media outlets. Please deal with the misinformation and disinformation that's on your shows. It has to stop.
Right there. Please deal with the misinformation that we have on your shows. It has to stop. So here is the White House once again, personally, not just, a big, hey, Joe Rogan or anybody like that, you need to step off or anything like that. No, straight up calling by name somebody who does a show and saying, you, Spotify, take care of it. White House urges Spotify to take further action on Joe Rogan. More can be done. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki called on music and podcast streaming giant Spotify to do more in the fight against COVID-19 misinformation. At her daily press briefing, Joe Biden's top spokeswoman was asked about a decision by the company to add disclaimers linking to COVID-19. And this is actually the story we're talking about right here. 2 days ago, they said that they're going to be adding a content advisory in response to the backlash caused by Joe Rogan. This is something they used to do to President Trump on Twitter before he was banned and numerous other platforms. And now Spotify is adding it as well, which is just hilarious that a music and podcast streaming service is now adding a content thing. So I wonder if they'll do the same thing to me, because I have a song on there called Vax Rebel, which, as you guys can clearly tell, is probably, as they would say, misinformation. So am I gonna get a tag? Who do I gotta email at Spotify to get my song a tag? Because that would honestly be pretty baller. I could be the first person that has a medical misinformation tag on Spotify. I've gotten one on YouTube before. I've gotten plenty on Instagram and Facebook. I haven't gotten one on Twitter yet. We're working on that still. Can I get one on Spotify? I kind of want to collect the misinformation Infinity Stones, so I can snap my fingers and misinform everybody. Psaki said that it was the responsibility of all companies, and particularly those platforms where Americans get their news, to be responsible and be vigilant to ensure the American people have accurate information about something as significant as COVID-19. That certainly includes Spotify. Ultimately, our view is that it's a good step, it's a positive step, but there's more that can be done, said the press secretary. Her comments come as two musical artists, Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, decide to remove their music from the company's streaming service. And there's an update about this. Mary Trump, who I believe is Trump's niece or something? Yeah, okay, the niece of former President Trump, has announced that she will be joining a growing list of artists, I'll have to check into that, who are pulling their content from Spotify. I'm removing my podcast from Spotify. I know it's not a big deal, but I hope it will be part of a growing avalanche. I think it could have stopped at, I know it's not a big deal, or stopped at saying nothing at all. So that's Spotify. That's the White House literally saying to Spotify, you need to stop. You need to potentially do more against Joe Rogan. So past a label, I don't know what more they can do. Unless the White House is asking for a citizen to no longer possess their First Amendment right to speak on a platform. Now, of course, everybody wants to make the same sort of same sort of argument that, oh, it's a private company and they can do what they want. And that is a valid argument. And in many ways I would agree, especially when it comes to things that are more objectionable and potentially illegal. Like, I can't even say it, that's how illegal it is, but certain content like that we need not even to be discussed, that's perfectly fine to erase. But COVID-19, whether you like it or not, has become nothing but politics. And so now, not only is it not something illegal, but it is something that is political, which should be embraced to be discussed. Nothing political should be erased from discussion, and nothing political should be hidden from view, hidden from the line of sight, unless it is explicitly illegal, and it is in support of that illegal thing. Like, for instance, we could talk about legislation that makes objectionable things illegal. But talking about the vaccines, or talking about treatments of COVID-19 that are not vaccines, why is that being asked by the White House, which is strongly supposed to be held by the Constitution, and the very first amendment of it in the Bill of Rights is the right of free speech? Why is a power that is so bound by that turning around and asking, and using the same argument against it, a private company to restrict somebody else's First Amendment right? Because whether you like it or not, it was about the public square. The First Amendment was about the public square. So why is a private company being asked by a federal organization, and that's what the White House is, a federal organization, the power to shut somebody else down? It sounds all sorts of wrong, and some people would even argue it's unconstitutional. I don't know if it's unconstitutional. I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I'm no constitutional law expert, but from my interpretation, it is definitely inching close, very, very close. And if the White House were to do anything further against it, like officially ask Spotify and some sort of written affidavit or something like that, I am sure that the Supreme Court or somebody has to do something about it, and would do something about it to show the White House and make a precedent that this is not allowed, because this is scary stuff right here. This is truly scary stuff. Now, what's not scary, of course, is Mary Trump pulling her podcast from Spotify, but then again, I don't think anybody was scared of what was on there in the first place. Mary Trump's podcast, The Mary Trump Show, is hosted on several streaming services, like Apple and Amazon. She discusses politics and pop culture, and occasionally interviews guests. The most recent episode, titled #Delete Spotify, was posted Wednesday. She had, Graham Nash, India Arie, and Neil Young and Joni Mitchell on Tuesday, announcing that they will be removing their music from Spotify over Joe Rogan. The tech giant announced Sunday that it would be adding content advisories about COVID-19 misinformation to any podcast that discusses the virus. But critics slammed the move, and some claiming that the company is using the Facebook playbook of distancing itself from the responsibility to moderate content it distributes. So there's actually people that are saying that Spotify should be doing more as well, which is just insane. Can you believe that? There are people that are saying, we want you to do more to censor. Like the press secretary, and by extension the White House? That is insane to me. We've got more stories, and we're going to be pivoting away from any of that show host stuff. But before we continue, I want to remind you that this show and all my shows are 100% supported by viewers like you. So if you're interested in supporting my channel, supporting my music, supporting my ability to get out to events, give speeches, perform, and meet viewers like you, then definitely make sure you go to the description and hit the link that is labeled donorbox.org, and consider a small one-time or monthly donation to support my channel. Anything from $1 to $100 is massive in supporting me. Make it monthly or just a one-time, anything like that. It is all helpful. So if you are interested in doing that, just hit the link in the description and go to donorbox.org, and you too can support my channel and what we're doing here. I would really appreciate it. So if you haven't already, make sure you check it out, and I'm putting the link in the chat, so it's very easy for you to just hit and check it out. We also, of course, support Cash App donations. I always forget to mention that, but if you don't really know what DonorBox is, but you have a Cash App or something like that, then it is very easy to just type in my Cash App code right there, capital C, Chandler, CR, and you can donate to support my channel as well. It all goes to the same place, either way you do it, so that means a lot. And if you're watching on Rumble as well, actually, Rumble has a feature that you can actually directly donate to me. It's called a Rumble Rant. It's a little dollar sign next to it. It's very similar to a Super Chat, and that also goes towards supporting me as well. So if you'd like to check out those options, definitely make sure you go in the description, or if you're on Rumble, hit the little money bag button, and consider a one-time or weekly donation to support the channel. But moving on to another group of people that definitely could use some support right now, and are getting it, are the truckers in Canada. I feel like I cannot go a day without talking about these people, because there's more and more good news. But before we jump into the news, I want to just play this for you guys, this beautiful thing that happened. So let me make sure it's not too loud. Now, nobody ever told you guys that truckers or farmers were good singers, but that was beautiful. That was truly beautiful. And also, if there are any Canadians in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this afterwards, can you tell me what this flag means? I have never seen this flag before, and I assume it has something to do with Canada, or maybe it's the Alberta flag, actually. Let me look that up. Maybe that's a good guess. Alberta? Is there a flag of Alberta? Because maybe... Oh! Yay! My guess was right! Alright! Cool! I'm proud of myself for that one. So, yep, those are truckers in Alberta, Canada, which I discovered yesterday because I'm no Canadian geography expert, but is right on the border of Canada and Montana, which is rather major that there are people that far west that are standing up for this stuff. But that's the Albertan flag. These are proud Albertan Canadians standing at their border. And if you notice here in the background, actually, this is something that we covered in our show yesterday, but here are tractors from a farm. So what is happening is that the truckers who've stationed all their trucks along the border of the United States and Canada to, of course, interrupt the flow as much as they can and make their voices heard. And we'll talk about in a minute how much that is having an effect, because it is having an effect. And Dolores, yes, says thank you, truckers. The truckers are stranded out there, though. It's not like they can move their trucks and go run and grab food, and most of them didn't bring backup cars. They don't have many people out there in that area because they're, well, truckers. They came from all over the place. So farmers from nearby farms are coming out and bringing food to them, to the truckers, to support them and stand by their side. So there's an even mix of truckers and farmers in this crowd here. I probably couldn't point them out, although maybe the flannel is like farmers and the more stocked up coats are truckers, or perhaps the other way around. Or maybe there are truckers and farmers that are like the same person. I don't know. I'm not a trucker nor a farmer. I don't know many, so I don't know the culture behind that. But what I do know is that this is straight up beautiful. And somebody said in the comments, pretty effing proud to be a Canadian right now. We've been quite a while since I felt like this. Thank you guys and gals. You have my support 100%. God bless these people. I thought there was a bill passed, yada yada, all sorts of amazing things like that. And it's starting to have an effect. But here's that other funny thing I wanted to play for you guys. You gotta listen closely to this, but let's read the tweet. Tow truck company in Alberta uses COVID and says they will not help the government/police in removing trucks and vehicles at the Alberta-Montana border. This is something that we talked about a little bit yesterday, and I was thinking, I kind of want to find a story about that, because I had heard a little bit about the tow truck companies out there, and, you know, the government was saying, bring the tow trucks and get these people out of the streets, and the tow truck companies are standing with their trucker cousins and saying, yeah, no.
I've been contacted, my phone's been exploding in regards to the towing and recovery industry going down to the U.S.-Canadian border at Coots and being asked to remove the truckers and vehicles that are blocking the border due to the Freedom Rally. So my phone's been exploding. So I thought I best just get on here and hopefully somebody listens to what I'm going to say. I think this is what we need to say.
This is where it gets savage.
Due to COVID, we have no available trucks.
Boom! Right there. Hold on. I gotta play a sound effect for that one.
Billions.
Play.
Due to COVID, we have no available personnel to help with your request.
Sorry about that.
If they continue asking, due to COVID, we are unavailable to go. This is what Justin Trudeau said to all of us. Now, there are several companies down at the border out of Calgary, which doesn't look so good. And they have been requested, and there's some videos out there that are showing them being ready and being protected. Look, if you're having to be protected by the police or some other law enforcement agency, do you not think it's the wrong thing to do? Now,
this guy is savage. I only watched a little bit of this video up until about that middle point where he says, we've got COVID. And I love this guy's accent, by the way, because his Canadian accent makes him pronounce COVID a little differently. He says COVID or something like that. But this guy is a straight-up savage. And speaking of straight-up savages, I want to give a big thank you and shout-out to Saint June, who has, once again, donated $100 to the stream. He is... we call him Saint June. You guys may notice his name is actually Sang June, but we've been calling him Saint June for like a year now because he has never stopped supporting us. So big thank you to Saint June and everybody who's supporting me. Thank you, Saint June, for your loyalty. This stream is dedicated to you, our daily show. It's the Saint June Chandler Daily Brief.
Maybe if it's a criminal investigation or something of that nature, or something when you're in your own jurisdiction, you might then need protection. Well, we all know what's going down at the border. So I've had people call all the way from the U.S., Canada, East, West Coast about what's going on at the border. The only thing you should say if you're contacted by law enforcement or by the entities that want these vehicles removed is, due to COVID, we have nobody available. Now, like I've said, hopefully the video is still running. If there are cattle, livestock, pigs, whatever, in the threat of dying, then I would say we need to move.
Yeah.
And go and help that unit.
But there's not. At least more than likely. This is big, though. And the comment says, the best thing is to say, let's see what this says. Sure, we'll have trucks there shortly. And then ignore them. Slow play it every time they call, asking where the trucks are. Oh, a hydraulic pump went down. They swapped it out, and they'll be there soon, etc. Be the wooden shoes and the gears. Oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. I like this. How long do you plan on staying in Ottawa? Just 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Just 2 weeks. Okay. I just looked at the time, ladies and gentlemen. That video lasted a little longer than I had planned for it to. So we are out of time on our daily brief for today. We have a few more topics we're going to be covering. We may pick them up tomorrow, or I may make a video to continue this. However, we have very strict rules here for the Chandler Brief. We're going to keep this just about 30 minutes. So thank you so much to everybody for tuning in. Thank you so much to Saints June. Keep an eye on this channel for more content coming soon. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel called Crump Live, where all these streams will be hosted for you to watch afterwards. Only clips and small little segments will be posted on this main channel that you're more than likely watching at. So if you haven't already, make sure you go into the description, hit the link that says Crump Live, and join our brand new channel. I'll even put the link in the chat for you guys just to make it expressly easy for y'all to watch over on the new channel. And if you haven't already, make sure you also subscribe over on Rumble. It is very important that we support alt tech platforms that are willing to support our ability to speak freely. Thank you guys so much. I will see you once again tomorrow or potentially later today for our segments. And aside from all that, I'll catch you next time, free thinkers. Don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence. Peace out.
Into the light we go.